So, in the last tutorial we looked at using the for loop to solve a number of problems. One, outputting a series of numbers going forward and going backwards, and another, producing a times table. What we'll look at now is how we can use the for loop to solve another range of different problems, the first of which will of course be familiar to you if you watched the previous tutorial. So, let's assume that we need to write a program that asks the user for the times table that they would like to output, and then displays this. So for instance, if we were to ask the user for a particular times table, they might enter 2, we would produce the 2 times table. If they were to enter 4, we would produce the 4 times table, and so on. So it's really an adaptation of our previous program. And remember, this is what we say about problem solving. Often when we're giving a problem like this, the solution is actually based upon things that we've done previously. We just need to adapt them or bring different things together to solve this particular problem. So, let's approach it step by step again. Let's not worry about how we're going to do it all in one go. Let's try and build a solution. So, let's take the first statement here. Write a program that asks the user for the times table that they would like. So, it should be fairly obvious that we're being asked here to get a value, a number in from the user, the times table that they would like to output. So, all we need is a line of code that actually gets a number from the user. And of course, we should know by now how to do this. We need to create a variable. Let's say that we call that variable table, because that's what we're going to ask them for. And then, again, the table that we need is a number, as in the 2 times table, or the 3 times table. So we need to use the input command. We then need to enter some sort of prompt, some sort of message for the user so they know what they've got to enter. So enter the times table you would like. And then, of course, we could just see if this works by simply asking Python to print whatever is in that table variable. So, let's hit play to run this. Should ask us for what times table we would like. Suppose we enter 4 because we want the 4 times table, and we can just confirm down here that that line of code has actually worked. So, we've solved the first part of this task, which was to simply ask the user for a particular times table. We then need to solve perhaps the more complicated part of this question, which is to output that actual times table. Now again, go back to what we know from previous tutorials. We've already done a times table using the for loop, so it should be fairly obvious that we need to use a for loop here. Now, again, we need a control variable for the loop, so I'm going to choose the letter I, and then the range that we're going to use. What number are we going to start at? Presumably we're going to start at 1 times something, and then what number are we going to go up to? Let's say in this case we're going to go up to 12 times whatever it is that they want. Let's just remember, if I put 12 in there, it'll stop at 11. So I need to put 13 in there. And then of course, colon at the end of the for loop. Press enter and that will trigger the indent. So, now what I need to do obviously is I need to produce the times table for the number that they've entered. That number is stored in this table value. So if they want the 4 times table, that's the value that will be in the table. I is the value that I'm multiplying by. So in the first instance I will be 1, then 2, then 3, and so on. So what I want to print inside the loop here is whatever I is multiplied by the table that they have asked for. So the first time round this loop I will be 1, so it will give us 1 times whatever table they want. Let's assume they type 4, it would be 1 times 4. Next time round the loop I would become 2, so it would be 2 times 4, 3 times 4, and so on. So, let's see if this works. Let's press the play button, enter the times table you would like. Let's say that we want the 4 times table, click OK, make this window a little bit larger so that we can see everything, and then hopefully we've got 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and so on. We've got the 4 times table, all the way down to 12 times 4. So, we've solved the problem. We've produced the times table for the 4 times table. Let's just try again, run it. Let's try a different number. Let's say we want the 6 times table. Click on OK. Scroll up so that we can see the first number here. 6, 12, 8, 24, 30, etc. So it looks as though we solved the problem. Again, we could perhaps tidy this up a little bit. We could get it, for instance, so that it outputs the value I first, then concatenate onto that the times symbol, then concatenate onto that the table that they asked for, then concatenate onto that an equals sign, and of course use the string function to make sure that any numerical values are converted into numbers before they're actually output. Now, notice in PyScripter we've got this red line here. You might have seen it a few times before. It indicates that there's something wrong with this line of code. Now, straight away I'm scanning the line here and I'm noticing that here I've got a plus sign joining this onto this. Here I've got a plus sign concatenating this onto this. Here I've got a plus sign joining this onto this here, but here I'm missing a plus sign. If I add the plus sign, that should fix the problem here. Remember, if you have an issue like this, try and solve it yourself first before you call for help. So, let's see now what happens if we hit the play button. Let's run the program. We want the 4 times table. Click OK, and hopefully we get the 4 times table here. So we've solved the problem that we were set. Write a program that asks the user for the times table that they would like. That was this first line of code here. And then displays this times table. That was achieved by this piece of code here. So hopefully you're now able to take knowledge from a previous task and apply it to a new, slightly variated version of that task. That concludes this tutorial.